Welcome to the No Budget Indie Filmcast, where we dip into the independent film universe to highlight those little films that you might not have heard about elsewhere. Will you agree with our panel? Or will our panel agree with each other? Tune in to find out. I am Milo Dennison, and with me, as always, is Claire Milan
Hello.
and Carl Feeney.
Hello.
This week, we watched the new Adam Sandler movie called Spaceman. So Adam plays Jacob Procheska. All right. He plays a guy that is supposedly Czech, even though he does not use a Czech accent at any point throughout the film. But he is the first Czech Republic's astronaut. There is a space anomaly, I guess. What would it be? Like something going on in space. And the Czech Republic sends an astronaut to investigate this. And rather than send multiple astronauts, as you would think would make more sense, they send just one. And in this case, they send Adam Sandler. So he's about half a year into his mission. He's starting to experience the loneliness aspect of being out in distant space. His wife is at home, pregnant with their child. They're having communication issues with the back and forth, system issues with the spaceship that he's on. And he begins to see a giant alien spider. So we first are introduced to the spider when it crawls out of his mouth or nose. I don't remember which one. I think mouth. Wakes up from a dream, realizes it's just a dream, only to go to the toilet to see that there is indeed a giant space spider there who can also talk. So the giant space spider and Adam Sandler bond over a mutual love of hazelnut spread and discussing the nature of love, life, and death as the space spider attempts to get Adam Sandler to realize how he is at fault for the flaws in his relationship with his wife, how is he distant, and just to help him cope with being alone in space. And that is this film. So it's an interesting idea. I like the concept of taking a film and, exploring the loneliness aspect of being in space. But I know astronauts in general train for this kind of stuff quite well. Maybe the Czech Republic's first astronaut wouldn't be that well trained for it. But 6 months in space, in distant space, you'd think he would have some kind of training and experience to help him cope with the loneliness aspect of it. And of course, the fact that they only spend the one. I do enjoy, I thought like the special effects were pretty good, not necessarily the spider effect, but the floating in space effect. I thought they did a nice job of the shots of him floating as he works his way through the space capsule or whatever it is. He's the spaceship that he's on board. It's nice to see Adam Sandler do something more serious with a bit of gravitas to his performance, which I think he pulls off other than the lack of a Czech accent. Yeah, I'd be interested. What do you guys think?
It's quite interesting to watch Adam Sandler in a serious role because I love Uncut Gems is another film Adam Sandler. I thought that he was terrific in that. So he can really pull off the dramatic roles. Yeah, like lack of Czech accent. He's supposed to be Czech, and I just think he's only there for 6 months. Like you'd think he was there for like 6 years, the way they're going on, and you think the wife would be more supportive in one way. Do you know? It's just I thought, oh wow, this is going to be an amazing film, but I find it very hard to stick with it. It was very boring in parts because it's just more or less him. And yeah, I find it very hard to concentrate on it. And it's funny, the reviews are either 5 stars or 1 star. So it is a kind of a Marmite film. It's very long. It felt like it was twice as long than it was. But it is very well filmed, very well acted, and the monster is quite interesting and good. Like it's well, the special effects are very good, but I think if you're in a certain mood to watch it, and I don't think when I sat down to watch it, I was in the mood to watch this type of film, so I didn't really enjoy it as much as I wanted to.
Alrighty. Yeah. I don't think really that that the whole idea of him being an astronaut and being in space, that it was really about space or about space travel. Or something. It was used as sort of a vehicle to kind of explore their relationship. And maybe you could say it was a very obvious metaphor, like that he was miles out in space. So that was sort of, indicative of the distance that had grown between them. So and it was like an extended psychology session. Him talking to the spider, like he was like the psychologist on the couch with the talking spider. So it was very much sort of a mood piece, it was all about the sort of the atmosphere and like even the way it was filmed, it was very kind of low register kind of conversation tonally. And I'd say it's a typical film festival film, actually.
Yes,
And
yes.
I did read that it was premiered in the Berlinale. And I think it would have film that if you'd seen it in a cinema, you might have like
Yeah, I
appreciated
think it needs
it.
like your full concentration because it is very
Mm.
like a therapist and the client or the patient. It's just yeah, I think if you saw it in a film festival, you'd probably enjoy it much better than I watched it on my computer, you know. It's based in a book actually. I don't know. I think it's probably possibly based in a book.
Yeah, I think it's based on a book as
I
well.
think it
Yeah.
is, yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay, interesting.
Yeah. And you would have been like drawn in, in a full in a cinema, you're kind of your concentration, you've no chance of like your concentration drifting really, and you're totally focused on what's in front of you. And I think that would have kind of drawn you into sort of the film a lot more. And I like the end of it, Yeah, it was very something very, beautiful about it, floating in space and the emotive music and all that. So uh yeah, I mean it was for what it was grand. I will say one thing, I just I probably not a lot of people probably don't realize this, but it's not called the Czech Republic anymore. It's actually officially called Czechia.
Is it
Oh,
I
really?
is it?
think
Right.
so.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Yeah, I've been there. That counts.
Have you? Yeah.
A couple
So
of
have I,
times
yeah.
actually. Yeah.
I've been
Mhm.
to Prague, yeah. Nobody calls it Czechia.
When
Czechia,
did they
but I think
change that?
4 or 5 years ago, I think. Maybe
Oh
longer.
wow. Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I've definitely been there since they changed it even.
Mm.
Wow.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely an exploration on loneliness and the distance that can happen in relationships using space as the metaphor, like you said. But I think there are other films that have probably done it better. Certainly, trying off the top of my head, like I know Moon was kind of a different type of film, but it also explored the aspect of loneliness as he's alone on the moon himself for so long. Uh,
or The Martian. The Martian is one
The
as well, I think.
Martian, another one, exactly. An astronaut who actually manages to cope with being by himself on another planet
Yeah.
without creating space alien conversations. I can appreciate that. The thing is, like, the pacing of it didn't bother me because I think the pacing worked for this type of film, which is an exploration on relationships. And it worked with the way this was filmed and the dialogue and that kind of stuff. Where I get bogged down is my suspension of disbelief in some of the technical aspects of it, which is how did the alien get on and off the ship? Like did
Mm.
it just morph through the walls in some way?
It
Like,
showed that, didn't it? Did it morph through the wall, the
I
window at
think
one
it did.
stage?
did it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. As far as I remember. Maybe
Mm.
it was date. I think it morphed through the window.
I
Or
Yeah.
know.
did it ever exist? Was it a figment of
Yeah.
his imagination?
Well, that's
Well,
the other thing. Yeah. Did it really exist? Like, why is there no cameras inside of the spacecraft so that he could call back to his control center and be like, hey, check the cameras. Do you see a giant space spider? But at no point was able to do that because the communication systems was down and he had to use an old phone and cameras are, I mean, okay, it's the Czechoslovakia. What is it called? Czechoslovakia?
Czechia, Czechia,
Czechia.
Czechia,
The
Czechia.
Czechia Space Agency, they're, I guess, relatively new to space exploration. So I guess it makes sense that maybe some of the stuff isn't working quite well. Uh, and I don't know. And just the whole ending bit, like I like the ending bit as well, but there's a piece where I don't know how much I want to talk about it, but there's an aspect of another spacecraft that is oddly very close at the perfect amount of time. It's like what was that one with Sandra Bullock that came out a few years ago? George Clooney, Sandra Bullock, and she
Oh
was
yes,
yeah,
yes.
Oh yeah,
it was all the
there's one
rage.
more.
And somehow she's conveniently orbiting the planet Earth, yet the space station from, I don't remember, North Korea, China, or Russia, whatever it was, is conveniently close enough to the US space station. So she can basically just kind of do a jump in space and get caught onto the other space station, which is just ridiculous. Um,
Gravity.
yeah, gravity, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, it's so some of those like technical aspects that I have a hard time buying into. The story and pacing is fine with me. It's just that I get bogged down into the feasibility of like that smart people would do this.
Yeah. Well, actually, my nitpick. I mean, it occurred at the very beginning of the film, so I kind of after that I just let it go. Okay, it's the whole space thing isn't really that important. But it's when they were talking and he was speaking and they were hearing him straight away, and I thought, no way, like he's miles out in space. So then they came up with some name. I forget it now. It's the special communications device that they had, quantum phone or something like that. But no, yeah, like I said, I think the whole space thing was just a uh, you know a, a, an aspect of it that wasn't really that important to the story. It was just a way of representing their relationship and using space, using the vast distance of space uh, to represent it.
Yeah. They could have done it where he was maybe under the ocean in some deep sea long-term exploration thing or something like that, maybe. How about that?
That'd have
But
been
it was based on
interesting.
a book,
Yeah.
so like
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Maybe gets into more detail in the book, as things often are. You get a little bit more clarity out of the book. Claire,
yeah.
you kind of hint on it at one point too, the wife. And it's like, okay, I get that, she's kind of had her fill of him at this point, but yeah, she could just pretend to care for the sake of like the mission. Like maybe she doesn't care about him at all, but does she really care about him so little that she's perfectly happy with him going insane and potentially dying in space just so she can not talk to him? Like just be like,
Yeah.
hey,
It's
babe,
ridiculous.
sorry. Yeah. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
really?
normally you think you'd a person like her who'd married an astronaut
Mhm.
would squeeze forward of. He's only away 6 months. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's not even that long.
And I'm sure as part of their basic training, they would have had him talking to giant spiders.
Oh
Like,
yeah, yeah.
that's
Mhm.
And you wouldn't
standard.
send one man into space anyway, because what happens if they have a heart attack?
That's what I'm
Do you know what I
saying.
mean?
You would never do that. You would not ever send one person because
No, they
anything
just
could happen to
wouldn't.
that one person, which would cause the mission to
Yeah,
completely fail. Yeah, it's
it's just a
ridiculous.
waste of money. Like, all the
Yeah.
money and scientists involved and one person going up to space.
Yeah, in a
Ridiculous.
ship that is clearly large enough. Like this is a
Oh
very
yeah,
large
yeah.
ship that he's moving around on. Easily, you could fit a couple more people on there.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe you got extra food to carry as well, but don't feed the space spider as much of your Nutella and or whatever
Oh,
peanut butter, space peanut butter, whatever it is.
Wasn't there wasn't there a joke about that?
There might have.
Uh, some uh, some space exploration. That was in the 1960s. Some rocket was going to space, and it was an astronaut and a monkey. And so they're giving the instructions, and they're telling the monkey, "Okay, when you do this and this, these are all the experiments we want you to do," and blah blah blah. And then says to the astronaut, and the astronaut goes, "What's your job?" And he goes, "Feed the monkey." Uh, but I remember there was an English football manager got into a lot of trouble uh, over that. I don't know. Look, cut this out. I'll tell you later.
All
It's
right.
not relevant to this film.
All right. Well, the joke worked, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you guys want to add before we get into the ratings?
Just I do like Adam Sandler in dramatic roles, and I hope he does more of them because I think he's on to something here. Because his comedies make a lot of money, but it is lovely to see him doing dramatic roles. So I like that.
Yeah,
I've never seen him in a comedy role. I've seen Uncle James in this,
Really?
but I did see a chart on the Twitter, which I'm going to keep going on Twitter, and he is by far the highest earning actor in Hollywood.
is he really?
I think so, yeah.
Right.
Wow, I did not
The
know
amount he
that.
pumps out probably, he probably produces the comedies and stuff as well, or the films.
Maybe.
I mean, based on this graphic, so who knows
Yeah,
if
like
it's
I'm
true.
curious how that's calculated because I would figure like The Rock would be because he's always in
Mm.
those big action flicks and
Well, maybe he wasn't included actually in that. I just saw him at the top. I don't know, Brad Pitt and like that Canadian guy you like.
Canadian. Yeah.
You don't like, I don't think it is. What's his name?
Oh,
God.
okay, yeah. Well, I need to stop talking smack about him because I don't want to get sued for liable. I love all actors, no matter
Mm.
who they are or where they're from, or the quality of their performances in whatever film it is that they're boring us in. Okay, who wants to go first?
Hey, Carl, you can
That was
go.
my job, isn't it, to go first? Um, I I don't know what to say about this film. I mean, I won't say that I necessarily enjoyed it. I liked it uh, in certain aspects of it. I appreciated it. So if I'd seen this in a cinema at a festival, I probably would have appreciated it a lot more. But I will give it 3 stars.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is definitely a festival film that you have to go to see in the cinema at a film festival. I really loved watching Adam Sandler in a dramatic role. Special effects are very good, and including the CGI spider alien thing. But I just found it way too boring, and it was hard to concentrate on it. So for me, it's 2 stars.
Yeah, it's kind of right in the middle for me too. There were aspects that I liked, the performance, the philosophical discussion, the pacing. I didn't really find it boring, but I got bogged down into the technical details, which irritated me. And I mean, obviously, he has to be alone in space in order to have this film, so they wouldn't send other astronauts with him, but maybe they could have had an astronaut with him and died or something to justify him being alone. I don't know. Um, but I'm gonna go right in the middle as well. I'm gonna go 3 stars with this one for me as well. Well, there you have it, No Budget Filmcast audience. Check out the film. It is called Spaceman. It's on Netflix. Let us know what you think. Are you one of the 5-star reviewers on IMDb or the 1-star reviewers on IMDb? Or are you with us where you're kind of a little in the middle? Let us know. Leave a comment in the video, or you can reach us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at No Budget Show. And with that, we'll say see you next time and goodbye.
What?